Most men over 60 will go to their graves never truly understanding the woman they spent their life with. Not because they didn't love her, not because they didn't try, but because nobody, not their father, not their doctor, not their friends, ever sat them down and told them the truth about how the woman they love actually thinks, feels, and experiences desire. And that gap, that silence, has quietly eroded intimacy in millions of relationships, slowly, painfully, without either person fully understanding why. Today, I'm closing that gap for you, because what you're about to learn in the next few minutes isn't just information, it's the conversation you deserved decades ago. 6 facts about female sexual psychology that will completely change the way you see your partner, your relationship, and your future together. Stay with me until the end, because what I share in fact number 4 alone could be the single most important thing you hear this year. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Dr. Julia Rhodes. I am a certified men's sex therapist with over a decade of clinical experience working one-on-one with men and couples across different stages of life. But my deepest passion, and where I've spent the majority of my career, is helping men over 50 and 60 reclaim their sexual health, rebuild their confidence, and restore genuine intimacy in their relationships. I have sat across from hundreds of men in my practice, strong, loving, well-meaning men, who were silently suffering because they didn't understand what was happening in their partner's mind and body. Men who assumed the worst, blamed themselves, or simply gave up on a part of their relationship that still had so much life left in it. This channel exists to change that. Every week, I bring you honest, research-backed, practical knowledge on men's sexual health. The kind of information that most doctors rush past, and most people are too uncomfortable to talk about openly. If that sounds like the kind of content you need in your life, you are in exactly the right place. Before we dive in, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming, I want to ask you one quick thing. If you are a man over 60, or you love someone who is, and you believe that intimacy, connection, and sexual health matter at every age, then this channel was built for you. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications, because every single week I release new content specifically designed to help men like you understand your body, understand your partner, and experience the kind of intimate connection that most people think is only for the young. It is not. And I'm going to prove it to you, starting right now. Subscribe. Let's go. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through 6 powerful facts about female sexual psychology. Facts that are rooted in real research and real clinical experience. These aren't generalizations. These aren't stereotypes. These are patterns I have seen repeatedly in my practice and that science consistently confirms. And for men over 60 specifically, understanding these facts isn't just helpful, it can be genuinely transformative. Because at this stage of life, the old assumptions don't work anymore. The relationship has changed. Her body has changed. And if you're still operating on the same playbook you used at 35, you are going to keep getting the same frustrating results. These 6 facts will give you a new playbook, one that actually works. Let's start with fact number 1. Fact number 1. Women's desire for intimacy never dies. Here's the first thing I need you to hear, and I need you to really let it sink in. Your partner has not lost her desire for intimacy. I repeat, she has not lost it. One of the most damaging myths that circulates among men over 60 is the belief that women, especially after menopause, simply lose interest in sex and intimacy altogether, that it's biological, inevitable, final. That is not what the research says. A landmark study published in the Journal of Sex Research specifically examined the intimate lives of adults between the ages of 60 and 80. And what they found was not a population that had quietly surrendered intimacy to age. What they found was that adults in this age range didn't just want intimacy. They described it as a genuine need, a fundamental human need that does not expire with age. So if your partner seems distant, less engaged, or less interested in physical closeness, the answer is almost never that desire has died. The answer is far more nuanced than that. And that nuance is exactly what we're going to unpack together today. Because here's what I see constantly in my practice. Men who have quietly accepted the story that their partner has simply lost interest. Men who have stopped reaching out, stopped initiating, stopped creating the conditions for intimacy because they've decided it's pointless. And in doing so, they have unknowingly confirmed their own fear. Not because the desire wasn't there, but because the bridge between them was left unbuilt. The desire is still there. Your job, our job together, is to understand how to meet it. That understanding starts with fact number 2. Fact number 2. For women, emotional connection drives sexual desire. This is the fact that changes everything for most of the men I work with. And it's something that, even if you've heard it before, I don't think you've truly felt the weight of yet. For most men, the path to intimacy looks like this. Physical contact leads to closeness. You initiate, you connect physically, and in that process, you feel emotionally close to your partner. Sex creates the intimacy. For most women, the path runs in the opposite direction. Intimacy creates sex. Emotional closeness, feeling seen, heard, valued, safe, and connected, is not the result of physical intimacy for most women. It is the prerequisite. Without it, desire simply doesn't activate the same way. The body might be present, but the mind and heart are not. Think about that for a moment. If you've been approaching intimacy as something that happens in the bedroom, you've been starting the conversation at chapter 10. The real conversation begins much, much earlier. In the kitchen, at the dinner table, in the way you listen, in the way you show up. A gentle touch on the shoulder during a hard day. A real conversation where you're fully present, no phone, no TV. Telling her something you genuinely appreciate about her. These are not just nice gestures. For many women, these are the actual ignition switches. And here's the clinical truth. When men over 60 learn to lead with emotional connection, not as a strategy to get sex, but as a genuine expression of love and presence, the shift in their partner's responsiveness is often remarkable. I've seen it happen over and over again in my practice. Couples who hadn't experienced real intimacy in years, rediscovering it, not because anything dramatic changed, but because one person decided to start the conversation at the beginning instead of the end. That person can be you. Fact number 3. Her body has changed, but her capacity for pleasure has not. Let's talk about something that makes a lot of men uncomfortable, and that discomfort is costing them dearly. Your partner's body has changed. If she is postmenopausal, significant hormonal shifts have occurred. And for many men, observing those changes, a partner who tires more easily, who seems less physically responsive, who may be more hesitant about physical intimacy, leads to one conclusion. She's done. Physically, biologically, done. Here is what the research actually shows, and it is far more hopeful than that narrative. Studies examining postmenopausal women's experience of sexual arousal have found something remarkable. Despite the very real physiological changes that occur with aging, women report little to no change in the subjective, psychological experience of sexual arousal. In other words, her mind's capacity to feel desire, to experience arousal, to be genuinely turned on, that capacity is largely intact. Furthermore, women retain their multi-orgasmic capacity well into older age. The intensity of certain physical responses may diminish, the timing may shift, but the fundamental capacity for deep, satisfying pleasure, that does not disappear. What this means for you is profound. It means that if intimacy has become less frequent or less satisfying, the cause is rarely a permanent biological barrier. It is far more likely to be a communication gap, an unaddressed physical discomfort, which we'll get to in just a moment, or an emotional distance that has built up over time. All of those things are addressable. All of those things can change. Her capacity for pleasure is not gone. It may need a different kind of invitation, and learning how to extend that invitation is one of the most powerful gifts you can give your relationship at this stage of life. Fact number 4. Pain and dryness are physical, not personal rejection. I told you fact 4 was one you didn't want to miss. I meant it. This is possibly the most misunderstood and most damaging thing I see in my clinical practice. And I want you to hear this clearly, because getting this wrong has silently destroyed more intimacy between couples over 60 than almost anything else I can name. Many postmenopausal women experience vaginal dryness and discomfort during sex. In some cases, significant pain. This is a direct physiological consequence of declining estrogen levels, which cause vaginal tissue to become thinner, less lubricated, and more sensitive. It is a medical reality. It is extremely common, and it is almost completely fixable with the right support. Here is where the problem enters. When a woman begins to pull back from physical intimacy, when she seems hesitant, when she says, "Not tonight," when she tenses up or seems emotionally distant during or after sex, her partner almost universally interprets this as rejection, as lost attraction, as confirmation of his deepest fear, that she no longer wants him. And in that moment of misinterpretation, he does one of two things. He either pushes, which increases her discomfort and anxiety, or he withdraws, which confirms to her that he doesn't understand and deepens the emotional distance between them. Both responses make things worse, not because either person is bad or wrong, but because they are operating on completely false information. She is not rejecting you. She is managing pain. And once men understand that, truly understand it, everything changes. The conversation shifts, the compassion enters, and instead of pulling apart, couples begin to face the challenge together. If your partner is experiencing discomfort during intimacy, encourage an open, gentle conversation about it. Suggest she speak with her doctor. There are effective, well-researched treatments available, including topical estrogen, lubricants, and other interventions that can dramatically reduce or eliminate this discomfort. She is not rejecting you. Please hear that. She needs your understanding, not your withdrawal. Fact number 5. Communication is the most underrated sexual tool you have. If I could give every man over 60 one practical tool that would immediately improve their intimate relationship, one tool that costs nothing, requires no prescription, and has no side effects, it would be this: talk to her. I know, that sounds almost insultingly simple, but hear me out. Most couples, especially those who have been together for many years, have fallen into a silence around sex and intimacy that feels normal, but is actually deeply costly. They assume they know what the other person wants. They assume the conversation would be awkward. They assume it's too late to start now. None of those assumptions are true. Research consistently shows that open, honest communication between partners about desires, concerns, physical changes, and emotional needs is one of the strongest predictors of sexual satisfaction at any age, and especially in later life. Couples who talk about these things don't just have better sex. They have deeper trust, greater emotional closeness, and a more resilient relationship overall. So what does this communication actually look like? It starts with curiosity, not assumptions. Instead of assuming you know what she wants or needs, ask her. Not in the heat of the moment, but gently, outside the bedroom, in a moment of real connection. Something like, I want us to be close. I want us to feel good together. And I want to understand you better. Can we talk about what feels good for you right now? What you need? What you enjoy? What feels uncomfortable? That conversation, for many couples, is a turning point. And it goes both ways. Share your own experience too. Your own concerns, your own desires. Vulnerability in a long-term relationship isn't weakness. It's the deepest form of intimacy there is. Talk to her. The conversation you've been avoiding may be the one that saves everything. Fact number 6, her libido isn't dead. It just needs a different trigger. We've arrived at fact 6, and I want to use this one to leave you with something that feels true and actionable, not just intellectually, but in your gut. Her libido is not gone. Research is very clear on this point. Among women who maintain good general health, sexual interest and activity remain present well into their 60s, 70s, and beyond. The desire for closeness, for physical affection, for genuine intimacy, it persists, it is resilient, it is real. What changes is not the presence of desire, but the nature of the triggers that activate it. At 30, desire may have been more spontaneous, activated easily by physical proximity, novelty, or simple attraction. At 60, desire is more often what researchers call responsive, meaning it responds to the right conditions rather than arriving on its own. And the right conditions, for most women at this stage of life, look like this: feeling emotionally safe and valued, feeling seen and appreciated as a whole person, not just as a physical partner. Having enough time and space to mentally transition from the busyness of daily life into a place of openness and receptivity. Experiencing gentle, patient, non-demanding physical affection that doesn't immediately escalate into a performance. These are not obstacles. These are simply the new map. And once you understand the map, you stop feeling lost. The men who thrive intimately in their 60s and beyond are not the ones with the highest testosterone or the most aggressive approach. They are the ones who became students of their partner, who paid attention, who adapted, who showed up with patience, with curiosity, with love. That can be you. That is absolutely within your reach. Let me bring all of this together for you. We've covered 6 facts today, 6 truths about female sexual psychology that every man over 60 deserves to understand. We learned that women's desire for intimacy never truly disappears. That research confirms it remains a genuine need well into the later decades of life. We learned that for women, emotional connection is not the result of physical intimacy. It is the condition that makes it possible. Closeness creates desire, not the other way around. We learned that despite very real physical changes after menopause, a woman's psychological capacity for arousal and pleasure remains largely intact. The body has changed, but the capacity for deep, satisfying intimacy has not. We learned that pain and physical discomfort during sex are medical realities, not personal rejections, and that misreading this signal may be one of the most damaging things happening silently in relationships right now. We learned that communication, honest, open, vulnerable conversation about desires and needs, is the most powerful and most underused intimate tool available to couples at this stage of life. And we learned that her libido isn't gone, it has simply evolved. It now responds to different conditions: deeper presence, emotional safety, patience, and genuine connection. 6 facts. 6 opportunities to show up differently. 6 doors back to the intimacy you thought was behind you. The question now is, which one will you act on first? If today's video gave you something, a new perspective, a moment of recognition, a renewed sense of hope, then please do one thing for me right now. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it, a friend, a brother, a partner, because this conversation is too important to keep to yourself. Every week on this channel, I bring you exactly this kind of honest, research-backed knowledge about men's sexual health. Knowledge that most people never get from their doctors and never see in mainstream media. If you believe that intimacy matters at every age, and I know you do because you're still here, then this is the community you've been looking for. Subscribe, hit the bell, leave me a comment below and tell me, which of today's 6 facts hit you the hardest? I read every single one. And if there's a specific topic you want me to cover next, let me know. This channel is for you. I'm Dr. Julia Rhodes. I'll see you on the next one.